I'm gonna leave a timestamp on screen just so you guys know. If you are not interested, you can fast forward to this part or fast forward through this part, but I feel like this is important for me to talk about. It has been brought to my attention what happened between John Swan and the Minecraft YouTuber Dream, and because I have been friendly with John in the past, and because we're both publicly tied together when Chris Hansen dubbed us the Goon Squad, I feel like I would be a hypocrite if I didn't talk about how disappointed I am in his actions. For those of you who don't know, Dream came forward with a weird interaction he had with John Swan last year, in which John was messaging people inappropriately while pretending to be Dream. Dream talked about this on a small Reddit post that John had seen, and he documented how John had acted completely inappropriately in his opinion, and John reacted to this by giving his side, which that he hadn't done the things that Dream had accused him of doing, but rather he hadn't signed out of his old Discord account when he was hanging out with a family friend, and that family friend had used that account to do all the things that Dream said he did. Unfortunately, and luckily I'm not on Twitter because I didn't see any of this happening when it was occurring. I found out way after, but based off history alone, I know for a fact if I was on Twitter, I would have believed John. I would have taken John at his word and I would have defended him. I know that to be true, even though I didn't. I think it's important that I acknowledge that. While I have personally had disagreements with John in the past, like when I first talked to him the first time about how he and everyone else was reacting to D'Angelo Wallace, when that happened between D'Angelo and Turkey Tom, and how he disagreed and thought less of me when I yeeted myself on Twitter. Despite those disagreements, I personally believe John was a trustworthy, kind person, and I would have believed him on face value alone based on my experience. He has a pretty, or had a pretty pristine reputation, and even when I disagreed with him, I always felt like his intentions were always good. Like they were never malicious. He never intentionally did anything to hurt someone. He just disagreed. He had a different viewpoint, whatever. However, it has come to light now that John was lying. There was no 12-year-old family friend who was autistic who used John's account who pretended to be Dream. It was John the whole time. He just made it up so he wouldn't have to deal with the consequences of his actions. But it goes deeper than that because John not only lied once or twice, but he went further. He made a document to assert his innocence where he delved deeper and made up more lies. He concocted details and made up scenarios in order to make himself look like a victim in all this. He took part in Discord calls where he assured every single one of his friends that what was being said about him was false and provided them with proof that he had fabricated to get them to believe him and defend him openly. He confidently sat in front of everyone and boasted that Dream calling him out was helping his career, and he just absolutely demolished most of his reputation because he was too egotistical to say that he fucked up in the past, own it, acknowledge it, and move on. He didn't even have the decency to say he was sorry when he was initially called out. It wasn't until he was pretty much forced into a corner where he was finally presented with evidence that proved he had lied to everyone. What John has done in this situation is disgusting because he was so willing to lie to everyone in order to keep his reputation as a trustworthy YouTuber, and he was willing to throw away everyone else and throw them under the bus because of it. His friends and the people who were closer to him than I was are devastated because they went to bat for him because they trusted him on his word alone. They had experiences with him that made them trust him, and he showed in a sense that he didn't care about that. He was okay with hurting their reputations, their livelihoods, their ability to take care of themselves because he thought no one would dare call him out. He thought there was no evidence. He thought he was in the clear. And while him and I weren't great friends, I can't help but feel hurt by this because I know myself. I know if I was on Twitter, I would have backed him. I would have gone to bat for him, and based off our history alone and the fact that he was so willing to sell everyone else out, even his closest friends, I know it would have been the same way with me. I wanted to come on here before the video started and condemn those actions. That way everyone who knows that we were friendly knows where I stand. I also want to make it very clear that despite all of that, I did reach out to John personally because I wanted to make sure that despite his actions, he is okay. I don't feel like people realize the toll something like this can take on a person's. I don't think people realize the toll that this can take on someone's mental health, and I view his actions as reading to me as very anxious. I think to do what he did, to lie as confidently as he did, and treat the people around him as disposably as he did, there must have been something wrong. He must have been extremely anxious. He must have been terrified. What he did was beyond not okay, and I have to believe that there's something more at play because this goes against everything I know him to be. I don't think he's a terrible person who should be condemned to the fiery pits of hell, but again, I don't stand by this. I have to actively disavow this, and there's just no excuse for it. Again, I know people will link me to him based off the Goon Squad and our public interactions, but I wanted to make it very clear where I stand. So with that out of the way, let me scoodle my boodle into what this video is actually about. So last week, I made a video about Lars Arts, the furry art thief, who I consider to be a messy bitch who lives for drama. Her hobbies include stealing things she found online and pushing people out of the furry art community by spreading lies and misinformation. The video itself was fine and dandy, but oddly enough, in the comments of that video, one name kept coming up over and over and over that wasn't a Laris, and it was someone who calls themselves LaneyKiff and Delaney Art. Both the same person. They're not two different people. I should have made that more clear. In the comments of that video, I was getting reply after reply begging me to look into Laney and the things that she has done. And frankly, that's all I need to get interested in the subject. If even one of you guys reaches out to me with a suggestion, I will make a video. It's that simple. I am just ready and willing for anything. Wait, no, strike that. Not anything. Because some of you will reach out to me and ask me to expose people you know in real life who are just everyday people who have no impact online. And no, not going to do that. That's weird. No, my dude, I am not going to expose your middle school bully and make a video about how they were mean to you and why that's wrong. Like, what would I even title that video? Miniature human person is a dink to other miniature human people because their brains aren't fully developed and school is a scary place? No one would watch that. I wouldn't watch that. And even if they would watch that, that's just all around weird. I'm not going to attack someone who's in middle school because they're mean to you. Stop asking me to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm also not going to talk about animal abuse because I can't watch any animal abuse take place or I will fucking cry. But everything else, yes, give it to me. I am basically an insatiable whore. But for YouTube, I don't know why I said that. I fucking hate myself. Oh my god. Anyway, but it's because of your request that I looked into this topic and oh my god, were all you guys right? Because this person has been stealing art, stealing money, and breaking copyright laws for going on 5 years now. And the lengths that she is willing to go are insane. So with that in mind, let me introduce you to LaneyKiff. This is LaneyKiff. According to her Instagram bio, she is a 25-year-old artist and illustrator who likes to design pins and draw pretty girls, which you know, same. Girls are hot. I am very into them. I too like to draw them. And if you scroll through her Instagram page, you can definitely see she has an affinity for pinup girls and nostalgic properties, like Shaolin Showdown, one of the most underrated cartoons ever. Her page is filled with her drawings of Ariana Grande, the Powerpuff Girls, Harley Quinn, and more. And had I found this page on its own organically without coming here because I was told this person is an art thief, I would be impressed because her feed is unironically cute. It's mainly cute because it's not her work and she's essentially just cutting and pasting other people's best works, but I'm not there yet. The first example that stood out to me on her page, the first piece that made me stop in my tracks because I knew I had seen it before, was this drawing of a little pinup devil Cupid character. Because not only was I down to get shot in the face by this woman, but I also just knew I had seen this design before. I knew this character, I knew who made it, and I knew for a fact that this didn't spring out of Delaney's mind brain. You see, I am a huge fan of Miss Upacy on Instagram because once again, I am very into drawings of hot women, and she is one of the best people to make drawings of hot women. Her mixture and her designs of pinup fantasy and her lingerie designs are top notch, and chances are that if you scroll through her feed, you are going to see that I have liked pretty much every post. That's how big of a simp I am. So when I saw this little red devil bitch, I was like, oh, cool. You are just going to go out here and steal her Demon of Lust designs that she put up on February 13th that was part of her Patreon collection. You are literally just going to cut and paste this design and put your name on it as if that fixes anything. Bet. Okay, Delaney, I see you. The image, however, does at minimum shout out Miss Upacy for being the inspiration, for it being a 1v1 ripoff of her design, which, you know, is nice of her to do. Crediting the person you literally stole from is top tier. But Delaney only does that when she's called out or when the original design was so iconic that the majority of people know that she didn't develop it in her own mind brain. And I am not simply pulling that out of my ass, because when she stole this design of the Powerpuff Girls from Art of Maku on Instagram, she didn't credit him. Or how about when she stole this design from Mahu Shouju on Instagram, and oh look, there's no credit there. Or what about the time she stole this piece of Melanie Martinez from Peachy Taya on Instagram an entire month after they had put it up? Weird that she only credits the ones that get the most attention. Again, I have to be clear, this is a 25-year-old woman. This woman is able to rent a car in the United States of America, which is the ultimate sign of adulthood. And she is out here confidently stealing these works and trying to sell them off without credit, without acknowledgement, without anything other than a really big ego. Because if you call her out, she will straight up to your face tell you that you are the problem. And that if you take issue with her, it's because you are jealous of her. You heard that right. So the artists that she's stealing from in order to take their profits and their ability to market themselves online, they are the ones that are jealous of her. They're jealous of her ability to trace their works and make them look at least 30% worse because again, she's not doing the line art confidently because she's tracing. But all right, sure, that makes sense. She definitely won that argument, I guess. Time for all of us to pack it in. Goodbye. Obviously, I'm kidding. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and I once heard a woman say she didn't have to wash her hands after shitting because God keeps her clean and holy. That's not a joke. Catholic school was a lot. Now, something Something you guys need to remember is that when someone rips off a design like this, when someone blatantly copies someone else's work rather than taking inspiration from it to create their own new unique thing and then tries to sell it off as their own, what they are doing is breaking copyright law. Because not only are you making a worse version of someone else's creative works, but you're also infiltrating the market in which the original artist was a part of and therefore taking away their ability to make money. You're filling the same niche, it's not okay. Like, you cannot say that these two works don't take up the same marketplace and that Laney selling this bad boy wouldn't interfere with the marketplace of this other one. Obviously, because a bunch of you guys requested that I look into this topic, and seeing as some of the call out posts on Delaney are years old at this point, it's clear that she has been doing this shit for a while. She's been doing it on every platform. Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, you name it, she's on it and she's stealing on it. She is very, very comfortable in thieving things like a thief and doing it so blatantly that there are literal Google Drives filled with evidence that I would link, but yes, once again, some of the evidence is just straight up porn. Why is it that every time I make an art thief video, I end up having to look at porn? I don't know, but it's happened too many times to count now. However, because she has a propensity for stealing from other popular artists and putting hashtag I don't trace in the description of their work, despite the fact that all of her work is clearly traced, she has literally been called out by multiple industry professionals and other very popular, very successful artists. I'm sure all of you guys have heard of Barbara Tarr, aka Babs Tarr, before. If you haven't, Babs is a comic book artist who is responsible for some of the dopest pieces ever. Babs has over 100,000 followers on Instagram and Twitter, separately, not all together, and her work is just, I mean, like, look at this. Look at this. I love her. This static, like, she's a topless angel in the static void. She's an icon. We have to stand and I need her in my life. Like, this is the energy I want to have in 2021. But so far, my energy is like days old Chipotle in a stained sweatshirt of my own merch. So, not quite the same thing. And much like with Miss Upacey and the other icons that Delaney likes to steal from on the regular, because Babs' work is amazing and people are attracted to it because she's talented and cool, Delaney decided it was fair game for her to trace over and sell that work as her own, which again is a violation of copyright law and not okay. And I guess Delaney thought that Babs wouldn't notice her tracing and reselling her work, but she did. And in December of 2020, she called her out on Twitter saying this person is exhausting. She continues to steal my work and many others and even tries to sell prints. I don't care with stuff like this if there's a shout out or if it's a study, but they refuse to credit. You can't really grow like this. The more you steal, the more you get called out, the more you get discredited. Unfortunately, I am constantly getting contacted because people recognize my work and let me know it's getting stolen, but I've tried to talk to them and they don't care. If you see this artist and recognize someone else's work, it's better for y'all to call it out because they do not listen or care about the artist, but they clearly want recognition from an audience. And was that the only time that Delaney has been contacted by the original artist asking her to stop? Was that the only time she was called out? Nope, but every time she is asked, she responds like this. By the way, I'm not 100,000,000% sure which artist sent her this. It wasn't clear in the Google Doc. However, because it has to do with Shaolin Showdown, I am going to have Nathan put a montage of all the times that she has stolen other people's fan art of the show in here. All the times that don't include the porn. So that way you can get the vibe and like get a general idea of how many people she steals from. That artwork is in fact mine. The artwork is in fact mine. I didn't trace yours and it's ridiculous because neither of us own Shaolin Showdown. Now you can get off your high horse because I can draw them better than you even without trying. Sorry, honey. Again, I want to point out, you quite literally can't, Delaney, shit talking the artist that you are literally stealing from and trying to gaslight them into thinking they are less skilled than you, the person who needs them to exist so you can seem like a talented artist. That's just stupid. It's really fucking stupid. That's a dumb argument and you should be embarrassed that you made it. She also goes on to say, LOL, I'm no means a young artist, sweetheart, which to me reads boomer energy, full boomer. And it makes me doubt that she's actually 25, but whatever, it's fine. She continues by saying, you have to learn in the art world. People take inspiration from all kinds of things, including art. Take it as a compliment and move on. So, if you're following, she isn't copying this person's art, but she is better than you and draws better than you and you are just jealous. But she also, despite not copying your art, was inspired by your art and you should shut up and take it as a compliment because she's better than you and you should be, what? Explain that to me, Delaney, please. Like, sure, the cheddar cheese logic of that is a lot, but you know, she said it. She confidently did it, and since she likes to steal, it's not the dumbest move she's ever done. It really isn't. Delaney has been doing this for years and has only gotten bolder with time. And this video is actually to put everything, and I mean everything I was able to find out there, and let you guys know what she does and how she operates. That way you guys can make the informed decision to support the people she's actually stealing from, because they are the ones who deserve better. Videos like this one are meant to simply inform you about this issue, about what this person is doing, so none of you fall into the trap of thinking this person is an amazing artist when really they use amazing artist work and simply slap their name onto it as if it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. However, do not, and I mean do not take this video as a license to go and harass Delaney though. That is not okay. We never do that. Clearly she is in the wrong and doesn't care, but she is still a person, so just ignore her. Everyone preemptively block her, and if you ever see her stealing other people's art, go support the person she's stealing from. Report the post down. Do what you need to do. With that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you one of the hundreds of people who requested this video? Did you know about Delaney art beforehand? Let me know all of that and more in those comments. But with that, I'm out of here. Later.